I would like to start with the major news with long-range strikes on Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that the U.S. authorization to strike deep inside Russia could change the course of the war and could force Russia to negotiate, could force Russia to seek peace. What is your take on that, and do you feel that this decision could change the course of this war?
Well, first of all, I think President Zelensky is exactly right that the restrictions that currently exist on the use of our Army tactical missile system and also the UK's Storm Shadow, a similar long-range missile, should be lifted. It's incomprehensible to me why it has taken this long to do that, especially after what Russia has done to Ukraine. Remember hitting the Children's Hospital in Kyiv, another hospital just 48 or 72 hours ago. The barbaric use of these glide bombs, 6,000-pound munitions that are not in the least bit precise, just hammering into cities, especially Kharkiv. Systematically going after the electrical generation of Ukraine, the transmission, every hydroelectric plant, and all the rest of this. Again, unconscionable. And the fact that we would restrict the use of our systems against Russian soil, even as Ukrainians are already going after Russian targets on Russian soil every single night, and have actually conducted a surprise offensive, very impressive, that still controls somewhere around 1,000 square kilometers of Russian territory. So I hope that the latest word from the White House is that this is a subject of intense negotiations. I'm hoping that will result in an announcement or just authorizing the full use without announcing would be fine as well, although I'm sure there will be a compulsion to make that announcement. Maybe when President Zelensky is in the United States, that may be one of the deliverables at that time. And the idea that some have put forward in Washington that, well, the Russians have moved all the targets that would be added, would be vulnerable. There's still many, many dozens, probably over 100 significant targets that you just can't pick up and move because now all of a sudden they're within the range of the Army tactical missile system or Storm Shadow. So I think this should be done as soon as is absolutely possible. To be candid, this is a little bit similar to some of the other decisions that have stretched out, in my view, too long. F-16s, the U.S. Army's M1 tanks, which delayed the Leopards, the Army tactical missile system in the first place, conventional cluster munitions, and so on. Noting, though, that the U.S. obviously has been the leader. Its response initially and throughout the course of this war has been extraordinary, albeit with the delay of this latest assistance. But $61 billion is the latest package from the U.S. That's larger than the defense budgets, I think, of any European country. So there should be a recognition of how substantial the U.S. support has been, even as individuals like me ask why certain decisions have taken too long.
Wall Street Journal reported that 90% of Russia's aircraft has been redeployed from out of the range of ATACMS systems. Don't you think that the U.S. hesitation to allow Ukraine to strike Russia has allowed Russia to redeploy its most valuable assets out of the range of ATACMS systems?
I think that is probably correct. Again, there's probably some use of these airfields temporarily or as refueling or temporary basing and so forth, and if they haven't already moved them, they will. But that doesn't matter. There are dozens. The Institute for the Study of War, the best think tank in America on the war in Ukraine, has mapped out many, many dozens of fixed installations that should be targeted and could be if the restrictions were lifted. And again, I'm hopeful that this will be the case. I would be careful, though, not to create expectations that may not be met. I don't know that this, in truth, changes the entire course of the war. I think it changes the dynamics of the present time. We should also recognize there are limits to the number of ATACMS that we can provide to Ukraine. There's not a vast number of these in inventory. Again, it's a huge warhead, very capable. We fired 103 of these during the fight to Baghdad when I was a two-star general commanding the great 101st Airborne Division during the fight to Baghdad. They're devastating in their effectiveness, but they're not unlimited in their number. And in fact, if I could, I think actually more important than that is what has been ongoing, which is the Ukrainian development of unmanned systems on a scale that has never been seen before. And we don't do. And just building new units constantly. There are now reportedly drone platoons in every infantry battalion. As they go up, then there are ones for maritime, there are ones for long range, there are ones for short range, mid range. I visited with a unit today and saw what they'd done in they've only been together for 6 months. And these are very cheap drones compared with how much it costs to get them in the United States. And they're constantly adapting, refining, iterating as the Russian electronic warfare, jamming, other systems, air defense, and so forth continue to evolve and adapt as well. And what is being done here has never been done anywhere else in the world and is not being done anywhere else in the world. And we need to learn from this and see how it is that a country that doesn't have remotely the economic might that we have is doing what we cannot right now do.